Hello, my fellow weirdlings. It's Margot, and today I'll be telling you about 3 unsettling stories that have been recounted to me by the people who experienced them, while I work on an original mini art project inspired by them. If you're ready to get spooked and spine tingled, keep watching. Our first story is a short but disturbing one from Eva, who says, I have horrible sleep paralysis because I did acid and it ruined my perception of dream reality. So now I either have nightmares or sleep paralysis. One night I woke up to sleep paralysis and my demon was shaking my body, and I snapped out of it to red marks all over my shoulders. If anyone else has unsettling or unexplained sleep experiences to share, I'd love to do a whole video on the subject. And I really hope it gets better for you, Eva. Next is a really strange and spooky experience from Corbin, which is definitely outside my realm of personal experience as a paranormal investigator and a weirdling. Corbin tells us, this was before I knew I was a psychic medium. My friend lives in this house that was built back in the 1960s. Supposedly, there was a man who built the house and went crazy and had ended his life. My friend also has said, and I can confirm, there is a gaping wide portal in the basement. When I heard about this, I wanted to go visit the basement where there is more activity. I sat in the middle of the stairs by myself in complete darkness. I closed my eyes because I was slightly afraid of the dark, and when I opened my eyes, I looked down at the bottom of the stairs. There was a tall box, maybe 4 feet high, at the bottom of the stairs. On top of that box was a jet black orb that, once I laid eyes on it, morphed into an older woman and slinked off into the room parallel to the stairs. Multiple times I've been over there, I've seen this demon crawl around unnaturally on all fours from under the stairs. She's depicted herself as an old porcelain doll, an old woman, which I believe to be her true form, and I assume many others as well. Holy shapeshifter, that's freaky. Please tell me that some of you have experiences like this, because I really, really want to hear more about this. Our last haunting tale today comes from Beyond the Thickets, who shares, I call myself a skeptic believer. I believe in the possibility of ghosts existing, but my brain will always default to a more mundane answer for some form of explanation. For this reason, I will not say that the following is scary, but rather just creepy. In my early 20s, 4 friends and I lived in a 3-bedroom house with an attached studio. 1 bedroom up top near the kitchen, 2 downstairs, basement type, and of course the studio. After living in the house for a good year or so, we discovered an attic above the upstairs bedroom. It was a small attic, but high enough that you'd be able to sit comfortably with a small group of 5 people or so. We spent a bit of time up there, but eventually grew bored of the tiny space and closed the latch. Then, weird things started to happen around the house. The basic spooky things, like items disappearing and then reappearing in weird places. Footsteps in the middle of the night running up and down the stairs. None of it seemed to bother us. We always shrugged it off as if one of us was causing the noises and misplaced items. Now, where we live, there is very little crime. We often kept the doors unlocked so our friends could stop by whenever they were around. We had not told anyone of the weird happenings. Honestly, it was more of an annoyance than anything. It didn't seem worth a story. One of my downstairs roommate's little sister, let's call her Katie, came over while we were all out. Katie walked through the house and down the stairs to the basement. Like most people, being alone in a dark basement tends to be creepy on its own. Feeling unnerved, Katie sprinted the last 15 feet to her sister's bedroom. When she reached the room, she heard a young girl's voice giggle, "Ha ha, I beat you here." Having already been spooked, Katie rushed back up the stairs and onto the main floor just as we were arriving. She asked us who else was in the house, and we had to reassure her there was no one. Again, back to my skeptic believer mindset, I shrugged it off. It was weird, but not something I felt couldn't be explained. That night, I was alone in my studio bedroom on the computer. The lights were on, so I could only see the reflection of my room in the window. I was busy on the computer, likely talking on MSN or ICQ just to age myself, when the basket of belly dancing costumes to my right began to jingle. Of course, this startled me. There were no windows open or anyone else around. It was weird, but I brushed it off again. I continued typing away when I heard a laugh. I stopped typing and held my breath, listening for the sound I believed I heard. When it did not come, I turned back towards my computer. It was then that I noticed the reflection of these glass dolls my grandmother used to give us. There were 3 doll faces looking back at me. I stared at them for a moment, wondering to myself if they were the cause of the sound. No, I told myself. I turned to look over my shoulder at the dolls on my shelf. The 2 dolls stared back at me, unmoving. 2 dolls. I looked back in the window reflection. There were 3 faces looking back at me. I stared at the 3rd face. It was a childlike face. It looked like one of the dolls. It stared back at me. Thinking it was something weird with the angle of the windows, I looked back over my shoulder at the 2 dolls. Just 2 dolls. When I looked back at the window, 3. No matter how much I moved my head to get a new angle, the 3rd face was there, watching me. For no real reason, I said stop. It was messing with my head, whatever it was. I looked back at the skirts in the basket, then back to the window. There were only 2 dolls now. Needless to say, I slept with the lights on that night, and the blinds shut. As a group, we decided that our house was haunted. We needed some kind of explanation, even if half of us were not true believers. We decided that the spirit was a child based off of our experiences, and that it must have come from the attic when we disturbed it. Our superstitious selves purchased a few toys, one being Rainbow Bright, and placed the toys in the attic. We invited the girl to play with the toys and told her that we'd not bother her space again. After that, we had no more weird sounds, no missing remotes, and no faces in the windows. Well, I think we all know there is very little in life or death that is creepier than a ghostly child. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed these stories and will come back for more. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, bring your friends, family, COVID pod, cult members, invisible friends, or enemies. And if you want me to share your story, I'll leave my contact info in the description box. Thanks so much for watching.